This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
So obviously we had a lot of big news this week in the NBA. One of those moves being the Celtics moving off of Jaylen Brown. He is headed to the Philadelphia 76ers. We've talked ad nauseum, not only our show, but I feel like just about every show on the network, thinking, how did we get to this point where that's what you're willing to take back in return for a guy who just finished 5th or 6th in MVP voting, is your NBA Finals MVP in Jaylen Brown, all to essentially take an injury-prone problem in Paul George off your rival's team? There's a lot of layers to this thing. That said, JVT, we finally, for the first time, got to hear from Jaylen Brown. He was on a Twitch stream, addressed a lot of different layers to this whole thing. But here is at least a snippet of something I found interesting.
I wasn't thrilled with the amount of respect that was showed during this process. You know, I think there was a bit of a lack of respect. I think it was fine at one point, and then out of nowhere, things just kind of went left. You know, I think Brad is probably getting a lot of the criticism. I wasn't thrilled the way he facilitated some of the conversations, but I definitely think there's more to it. Chad, there's definitely more to it. I just wish that the more to it could have been explained to me, because if the more to it was explained, I think I would have understood. I thought I earned respect. Right. I'm processing. The process is back to on. We've been shutting the process down for the last, I don't know how many years. The process has been over, but now the process is back.
I love how the friend just like pops up in the back now for that part of it. But what were some of your big takeaways here, JVT?
I mean, it's fine. Look, I think I understand him. I understand the thought of, since they drafted him and then since they drafted Tatum, when they were together, immediately they went to an Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 against LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was a big part of that. When they go to the NBA Finals, he wins both Eastern Conference Finals MVP and NBA Finals MVP, and then carries the team without Jason Tatum to 50-plus wins, and albeit a disappointing loss to the Philadelphia 76ers, but still a very strong season. And after that year, when we finally get to the point where, you know what, let's do what the media has been saying, let's break them up, why isn't it the guy who doesn't have any of the hardware, that just came off a torn Achilles, the one that is maybe being considered being dealt? So you understand why he feels somewhat disrespected. And then you get stuff like this, which is incredible. Per The Athletic, the Trailblazers analytics department reportedly viewed Jaylen Brown as a negative player. Okay. But then you traded for Ja Morant? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how? So to the point of disrespecting him to, like, this degree.
Come on.
That's absolutely ridiculous. And you could say, well, Ja Morant's, efficiency different. Yeah, you're right. Okay, yes. Ja Morant, when he was on the floor last year, improved his team's net rating by 1.5 points. Ja Morant also only played in like 20 games last year, has largely been a knucklehead, and cannot stay on the court with both injury and his decisions.
Even when he's on the court, he's been declining every year, last 5.
Also, there's always noise in some of these statistics, and you know me, like I like numbers, I like analytics. The Boston Celtics bench had the second best net rating in the regular season this last year. So in theory, when Jaylen Brown gets off the court, the guys that are playing behind him are kicking the tail of everybody that they play. So in theory, yes, Jaylen Brown could come on and make the Celtics net rating worse because their bench is so good that they're dominating other second units, and thus statistically you are viewed as a net negative without the context of what is happening in some of those. And for the Ja Morant point too, while he was a positive, again to the point of noise, Stormy, when he was on the floor last year, the Grizzlies' defense improved by 4 points every 100 possessions. Do you think that's Ja, or do you think that's Ja playing with the starters who had better upside on defense?
Fair.
That's Ja. So, or excuse me, that's the other starters, not Ja. So the whole point here being, there's noise in statistics. I understand that Brown is feeling somewhat disrespected. I'm really curious, I think like many others, how this all really works together with Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown, and Joel Embiid. We should note, and I think we brought this up yesterday, but a shout out to Zach Cohen one more time. We talked about this on the podcast. One of the underrated signings of the free agency period is Philly going and getting Dean Wade, which is really good to slot in there, that 3-4 spot. Wing defender, can spread the floor. So Philly's got a really intriguing team. And I think that they're being priced somewhat accurately. And then you throw all of it on top of it. if they somehow get LeBron James, which there's a conflict in the market. Prediction markets don't think that is the case. Betting markets do. So we'll see ultimately where he lands. But there is, as we talked about a little bit earlier in the program, that connection with Clutch and the fact that Tyrese Maxey is there. And it does make them a viable candidate. And remember, too, Stormy, the year that LeBron was a free agent, Philly was in the mix. And that was when, we're at kind of like the peak of the Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and all that kind of stuff. So the connection has been there with Philly before. The temptation maybe has been there before. So I don't think it would be crazy.
It's funny how much that whole conversation about LeBron, though, has shifted when it was, okay, look at Draymond Green not picking up his option here and that connection with Clutch Sports. And he's going Golden State for sure. And the way that the prediction markets shifted there. And then more of this narrative had come out about the Cleveland Cavaliers and him going back home. And now you see the Rich Paul layer of it and how much it's crazy to me, by the way, how much he is speaking on this publicly on the Game Over podcast. But that's a whole other layer in it of itself. But then, even though, to your earlier point, Cleveland in the prediction markets has swung up to being this huge favorite, you've got the 76ers that are more than $2 at other sports books. So it's a little bit wild. One more thing about the Jaylen Brown portion of this. He made the comment, I understood the process early, which to me, I perceived that as maybe he had an understanding of if you're trading me for Giannis and like if this is what we're going to try to do and you bring in Giannis Antetokounmpo, I can understand that. But what's actually happened now is you're just shipping me out the door for whatever. That doesn't add up. And then that goes back to the what's Jason Tatum's role in all of this and what's really going on behind the scenes. And he claims to not know what that is, but that would surprise me.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, sometimes people, like professionally, you have work relationships, but secretly you don't really like each other. It's how we operate. So I think that, like, sometimes, it just does not work out.
Okay?
What do you mean?
Aren't we the opposite? Where you act really mean to me, like you don't like me, but then behind the scenes, like, come on,
Is that what you think?
I'm pretty cool. You're voluntarily hanging out with me on days off, so that should tell you something, people. Last couple minutes here, I do want to get into one or maybe two NFL topics if we have time, but considering where the Houston Texans have been, this was a quote I know that caught your attention. C.J. Stroud's first season last year playing with offensive coordinator Nick Caley ended with a pair of tough performances in the playoffs. The defense was really what held Houston together last year offensively, knowing what C.J. Stroud was.
Putting it nicely.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Compared to what we saw from C.J. Stroud his rookie season and how unbelievable it was for the offense to be as brutal as it was. And listen, he didn't have help on the offensive line. Like, there's a lot of other layers to this, sure. But DeMeco Ryans said recently that he feels like the communication specifically with CJ and offensive coordinator Nick Caley has been much, much better. And what he has seen from OTAs and mandatory minicamp has impressed him as they get set for the season.
Yeah, I think that when you look at this, comments aside, the Texans become, again, one of the more, what would you call them, like fascinating teams when you look at this season, because the upside of this defense is what we know is astronomical. But this offense fell apart, and we've seen this. We've talked about this. Going into last year, if you remember, I had an under on the Texans win total. They start 0-3, if I remember correctly, and you're feeling pretty good, right? You're like, yeah, let's do this thing. This team's going to stink. And the team gets pulled by the scruff of their neck by this defense all the way to the finish line, and we know how the thing ends. A lot is on the corner is the C.J. Stroud. A lot on this is C.J. Stroud and what's going on. So I think that whether or not he's going to improve, and I also find it fascinating when you talk about the communication between him and his offense coordinator. You got rid of Sloak for a reason because of this offense and the lack of continuity between him and Stroud. And now we're coming into another season in which there is maybe a lack of communication error or lack thereof of continuity between him and his offensive coordinator. There's one common thread, the C.J. Stroud. Yeah. So you do wonder what this is going to look like for Houston. And in an AFC South, which I know you and I are relatively high on the team at the bottom, the Tennessee Titans. It's a division which I think you can see the realistic opportunity of a worst to first type of leap, because I think that 9 wins can win this division. I'm not very high on the Indianapolis Colts, given the injuries that they have. Of course, Daniel Jones, the absences on defense that wasn't very good and very lucky a season ago. So that team could take a slide. And I know they were good last year, and this seems totally unfair, non-data point. I don't trust the Jacksonville Jaguars to consistently do what they did. So either way, this becomes one of the more interesting divisions with, I think, a really strong upside team at the bottom.
So I completely agree with you there. The Jags are a very interesting proposition to me. I know we had the conversation, what was it, last week about the NFL regular season passing leaders. And I brought up Trevor Lawrence in that conversation because of the way that we saw that offense change and the uptick in production the back end of the season. My question is, when you win 8 of your last 9 games, when you take the Bills to the brink in the playoffs, is that who you are now? Is that where are you going to pick up where you left off, or are we going to revert a little bit, get back to that team at the beginning of the season that really struggled? What version of Trevor Lawrence are we going to get? Is he fixed? Is he not? Like, there are more questions, but it's like a high risk, high reward, I guess, probability if you're diving in on Jacksonville.
Yeah. By the way, so we got a stoppage here, 48th minute. Very scary injury.
What happened?
I mean, there's nothing to say. We got a very scary injury. I don't know what are you doing. So either way, I'm with you in the bottom of this division, and we'll find out what happens in the AFC South.
Yeah. I have been tempted on the Jaguars. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that ends up happening. I do want to look at some of the season-long props as we go this summer as well, on Cam Ward and some of those other things for the Titans side of things. With it being, by the way, so 4th of July weekend, we here at VSiN are celebrating a little bit longer with a special deal, getting you nearly 70% off the regular monthly price for 2 full years of VSiN Pro. So for $299, you will get full VSiN Pro access to everything we do here at the network through July of 2028. So as we're talking NFL here, we know our NFL betting guide is officially out. You can get all of those previews on season win totals, division finishers, who's going to win it all, season-long props, all of that stuff available in the betting guide that you can't get a la carte. You can only get that as a subscriber. In addition to the unlimited articles, the daily best bets, real-time bet splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 video, like everything. If you can dream it, you can do it at VSiN.com. The offer does end on July 7th, though. So you want 2 years of VSiN Pro, $299, vsin.com/subscribe. Again, that's vsin.com/subscribe. But July 7th, this thing is over. So get in there while you can. No better way to celebrate the 250th of our independence. Let's get it going.
No better way.
All right, we got to step aside here on Money Moves. Keep it locked, though. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We'll be back in a moment.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, everybody. Back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Bonantoni with you. We're live, as always, in downtown Las Vegas at Circa Resort and Casino, where, in case you didn't know, we got contests with the NFL upon us. You can cash in this football season in Vegas with 3 different Circa Sports contests. Entry starting at $1,000, all with no rake, though. So what does that mean? Every single dollar stays in the prize pool. Circa Million, 18 weeks, 5 picks against the spread, 128 different ways to win. Circa Survivor, pick one winner each week. Sounds easy, not so much. Last one standing wins, and it is a blast. And Circa Grandissimo for you high rollers, $100,000 entry. Big payout. Enter in Nevada. Play from anywhere, though. If you got a proxy, $30 million guaranteed. Head over to circasports.com for details. That's circasports.com. I haven't signed up yet. I'm still figuring out how many entries that I'm ultimately going to roll with in this thing, but I know we will be back in the fold as a team.
Yeah. What are we going to do? Have we decided? Not really, right?
Well, we'll definitely do a millions entry.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and then 2
do
survivors?
I was going to say, do we want to do 1 or 2 survivor? That is the question.
I mean, given the way you screwed it up last year, probably going to need 2.
I am still so bitter about that, by the way.
Yeah.
Because you talked me into it.
We should have gotten it. It was the Rams. We were eliminated on that fateful Thursday night like many others did with the Los Angeles Rams.
I initially that week.
Pause. Bad news for you.
What? No!
Equalizer from the Australians. The Aussies knotted up in the 55th minute here, 1-1 out there in Dallas.
Stupid. Can we get an offside call? Come on. Can we get VAR to get in here? Let's see. I bet you touched somebody's hair.
I mean, well, seriously. I mean, I know a lot of people have been complaining about it, but you know, like you gotta You got to split the hair, if you will. Keep that going.
Did you see, by the way, there's this whole thing going around, and we're referring to what happened yesterday with Croatia and Portugal on the hair talk, because the chip in the ball basically said that they were offside because it grazed the hair of number 20 for Croatia. Forgive me, I'm not going to try to mess up and mispronounce his name. But I keep seeing the picture from the FIFA website that's been going around about what that rule is actually supposed to entail, because you ask if hair can be considered offside. It's only considered part of the body for offside if it affects movement or trajectory of the ball. Quote, this is only in cases of significant contact with a mass of hair, such as a top knot. They even give an example of it. So the fact that you can't see visibly any change of direction of the ball, it touch him at all on the slow-mo replays or with your eyes and in natural speed. And we go to like this little tiny on the heart rate monitor thing for the chip is wild to me.
It's what we do, man. Now, what's wild to me is that they have that technology, and yet, we're still asking old men with chains to figure out where a ball is getting randomly spotted in football.
The funniest part about all of that to me is because everybody made such a big deal when we got the, what is it? It's not the eagle eye, but it's, what do they call it?
The eagle eye technology.
Yeah, but whatever that is in football for like where it is.
The first down.
But it's still the eye spot test from the official.
Yes.
Like,
you're asking for the accuracy of a potentially inaccurate spot. Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so it's...
I'm with you, like I said. Or again, what drives me nuts in football, since we have this technology, can we please get some sort of sensor so that we can just get like a trigger to know that the ball crossed the plane?
Yeah.
That's the thing that drives me nuts too. When we're watching like 7 different replays of these dudes all piling up their masses of humanity, and you're like, I think the nose of the ball crossed the plane. You're like, can we get the technology, please?
It would be nice. But then, honestly, then we have the technology in a sport like soccer for something like that where we're ripping it. So be careful what you wish for to an extent.
All you pig-headed Americans, happy 4th of July.
The Croatians probably not thrilled.
You want to criticize the beautiful game. I am not one of them.
We'll have best bets with the 2 remaining matches in the World Cup a little bit later on this hour. This segment, though, I did want to dive into a little Major League Baseball. We did find out what the repercussions were going to be for that bases clearing brawl the other day between the Nationals and Red Sox, by the way. Washington pitcher Cade Cavalli and Boston first baseman Wilson Contreras will both serve 7-game suspensions for their roles. Miles Mikolas also received a 5-game suspension, and Red Sox outfielder Nate Eaton got a 3-game ban. Each player is also fined. I haven't heard anything on appeals yet, but potentially there could still be something that comes down on that.
Yep. Cavalli issued the apology, you get the suspensions, then you move on, and I think that's pretty much all you wrote about this sort of a fracas, and a good one at that. You always like a good helmet throw, although the one that comes to mind is Bryce Harper when he tried to throw a helmet and completely spiked it into the ground and missed his target by about 20 feet.
Yeah,
remember that one?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Or what was the one earlier this year where the coach had like a full-on like body tackle?
Oh, man, that does sound familiar. It doesn't come to mind,
I'm
though.
blanking on it. How about today, though? We do have a handful of games coming up later on in the evening. We had VSiN's own Will Hill on the program a little bit earlier on in hour 1. If you want to hear those plays, by the way, Money Moves in podcast form, wherever you get your podcast.
It was Walt Weiss when he tackled the Jorge Soler with the Angels. That's what it was, early in the year. Yep.
It was awesome. Will told us in particular he liked the Yankees today, had a couple other plays. Anything that you liked on the card?
Well, there's a couple of games, and the Yankees one is one of them just because of the fascination of what's going on with Garrett Cole. I mean, one of the things that really sticks out when you look at Cole's profiles, first off, there really isn't any sign of regression in some of the numbers, right? We're always sifting through these, trying to find, like, hey, can a guy revert back to form, or is he going to fall, or is he going to start to implode at some point? 4.06 ERA, expected ERA is a 3.60, so the contact numbers aren't too bad, but a 4.60 FIP. And then you kind of dive a little bit deeper with Garrett Cole, Stormy, because you wonder, like, all right, what's going on with him? One of the troubling signs of his profile is the inability to challenge hitters. His whiff rate is in the 4th percentile, just 17.7%. He's not really getting guys to chase out of the zone either. He's perfectly average there, floating around the 47th percent. So some of the stuff that we know about Garrett Cole in terms of his strengths and what he can potentially do, that's pretty troubling. And look, Cole, if you go back the last couple of years when he was at full strength, it's not like he was a dominant guy. But back in like 2022, he was in like the 92nd percentile whiff rate. He was at least above the 50th percentile in those last 2 full healthy seasons. So that, I think, is the worrisome sign for Garrett Cole right now. The inability to challenge hitters and the fact that he is absolutely getting knocked around and even still getting somewhat lucky in some instances, like batting average on balls in play and whatnot. So you just wonder, if this is going to be what Garrett Cole is this year. But we'll see how that goes, especially against some of these lineups. We'll see against Minnesota if he can get this done. But to me, it's all about Garrett Cole and seeing, all right, like, is he worthy of a price like this, considering what we're getting and what we are seeing when you're looking at the overall statistical profile for him? Because I would lean a little bit toward plus 169 if we're getting the Garrett Cole that has been throwing the the baseball the last few starts. It has not been good.
So that's your dog price, more than $2, the consensus number on the Yankees. If you do think that the Yankees will bounce back, run line around even money on that price. But for me, like, big picture on the Yankees, this stretch, the last 7 games, and I gave the numbers with Will earlier, but I'll say at least again, they rank last in Major League Baseball over this 7-game losing streak in batting average, OPS, offense averaging fewer than 2.5 runs per game, second fewest in the league in that time. The bullpen has been struggling. Is this a bad stretch for the Yankees, or is this a sign of things to come? I know Aaron Judge was quoted the other day, like, being critical from the outside in, saying that there's been a clear lack of focus.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a clear lack of focus. I also just think that this is kind of the ebbs and flows of a baseball season. We see this a lot now.
It's streaky.
Like now 7-game losing streaks are troublesome. Like, you don't want to go through those. But in terms of the offense struggling and obviously the health issues that they have had, I do think that they're going to be a group that can turn things around. But it just speaks to how open the American League is at this point right now. Remember, we were talking when Aaron Judge was hitting the ball, or at least hitting the ball somewhat well, not by his own standards, but that this team maybe was the best team in the American League without a question. And now you're looking around and going, man, like, I don't know, 5 teams can win this thing. So I think that you're going to eventually get to a point where you're going to be fine. But there's certain things got to get better. Your offense hasn't been better, or excuse me, hasn't been good to the point of focus getting better. We watched the other day, we talked about this. You come back against the Tigers in the 9th inning, tie a game at 2-all, then your defense starts crapping its pants in extra innings. You end up losing that game 8-2, or 6-2, whatever the final score was. Either way, they got to get better in that regard. But I think big picture, you're not writing them off. I think they're going to be in the playoffs, and I think they're going to be a contender amongst the rest of these weak American League teams.
Last 90 seconds, Pirates Nationals. I know that was another game you had interest in. Our guy, Justin Emery, by the way, he's always tracking these strikeout leader markets. One of the guys he had interest in today was Foster Griffin at 14-1. Anything stand out to you?
I mean, it's Foster Griffin, actually. Griffin's just been pitching really well. In his last start, I tried to take my shot against him, and it didn't go particularly well, trying to find opportunities to catch the regression monster. Make it now 5 consecutive starts in which he has allowed 1 earned run or fewer. And in fact, when I tried to take my shot against him with Baltimore, a ho-hum 7 innings, no earned runs, and 9 strikeouts. Foster Griffin has been unreal. Some of the contact numbers are there that you can look at this and say, all right, 3.92 expected ERA despite a 2.93 regular ERA, a 4.21 FIP. So at some point, maybe he gets got, but these dudes that can pitch to contact and induce some swings and misses, that is a problem to try to find some of that difference here. And Foster Griffin has been a dude that I have been chasing and cannot get. So watch him absolutely get crushed tonight after I give up and say, you know what, I wash my hands of this. I can't do it.
Pirates a lineup that strikes out a lot too, by the way, fourth in all Major League Baseball. The other names that Justin was looking at today for daily strikeout leaders for inquiring minds, Dylan Cease, your favorite at 4-1, skipping over Shohei Ohtani today for the Dodgers, which, by the way, what a brutal showing again for my Padres. Jesus, what's going on? But Reed Detmers 9-1, Gavin Williams 11-1, and Griffin there 14-1. For anyone who missed it yesterday, San Diego was up 6-0 early, allowed 12 unanswered, and now you get to face Shohei today. So good for you, Pod Squad. On that note, let's step aside here real quickly. When we return back to the association, Zach Cohen joining us here, host of Hardwood Handicappers, one of our great NBA analysts, breaking down all of what has been a crazy week in the NBA.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So according to Farmer's Almanac, the concept of not wearing white after Labor Day started in the 19th century as a way for the upper class to separate themselves from the working class.
Oh.
So some historians say brighter clothing was worn by affluent groups who could afford to leave town for a warmer coast when the leaves began to change. So because I am, of course, part of that wealthy upper class, I will now start to abide by this rule. Thank you very much.
This conversation brought up in the commercial break because JVT was talking about maybe buying white pants. Yeah. And we're like, well, when can you wear them? Is it no white after Labor Day? Or how does it all work? So now we've got the background, which is good. I just say in general, white pants are too risky. And maybe that's just as somebody who drinks coffee every day, like not Not worth it.
Like I said, I'm also a large individual. I don't think that really works.
Not worth it. We'll see if Zach Cohen's in the white pants game as he joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Senior editor here at VSiN, host of the Hardwood Handicappers podcast, NBA analyst. You've got a white shirt on. How do we feel about white pants?
I have maybe worn white pants like once or twice, and then there are other occasions where I've asked my wife if I can wear them, and she's like, no, they look terrible. Or she thinks they're douchey, too.
There's that. White in general, though, is a little bit risky. As somebody who is a 30-something-year-old adult that has to put a napkin in my shirt at times when I wear white to protect, like it's
30. Say it. 33. All right. Speaking of D-bags, some believe maybe Jaylen Brown is one. We will see if that is actually the case. But let's talk about Brown and where he might eventually, or what he might eventually do for the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's put the deal aside. We can talk about like the magnitude of the deal, whatever it is. Jaylen Brown, member of Philly, as currently constructed, with the addition of Dean Wade as well in free agency, Zach. Where do you put this team in the Eastern Conference?
So I still have Philly like 4 or 5 in the Eastern Conference. I think they're really good. I expressed to you and Kelly Bidlin over text that like I was still really worried about their depth. They did address that a little bit yesterday, signing Anthony Simons. That was a really good deal. It was like 2 years, $12 million, and you get kind of a surefire playoff contributor, which is really good. But it does kind of block one of your other guys, LeBaron Philon. So I don't really know how that works, but they need to add 2 or 3 more pieces that they can trust in a postseason setting, which is really hard to do when you have money, but it's really hard to do when you don't have any money either. So I don't know. It's going to be tough to see them kind of acquiring the depth they need to compete with a team like the Knicks, who destroyed them in second unit minutes in the postseason.
So if we're talking about adding pieces for the 76ers, the big news obviously has been the rumor mill swirling about LeBron James. Could this be one of the destinations? I know Rich Paul has said basically every team in the league has pursued him, but you look at some sports books and the market has Philly a minus 200 favorite now all of a sudden to land LeBron James. How do you feel about the LeBron James search right now and how this might play out?
I still kind of think he's going to go to the Cavaliers. I just feel like he's somebody that's very aware of what people think of him. And it's really the only option on the board right now where people would not be mad if he goes back to Cleveland. I feel like that team is really good, but like him having those ties to Cleveland saves him from making, one of those Durant-like decisions of joining a very good team and not having to deal with the scrutiny. I don't really understand, by the way, the Rich Paul board that he put up in that show with Max Kellerman. There was oil in the Dallas Mavericks one. I don't know what's going on there.
You got to think of all the reasons, right, why you would do that. And, of course, I think that's one of them. You got to at least think about it. Because remember, like you said, it's not his only year. He could play another couple of years, and that would be a very important task.
Yeah, who keeps saying that this is LeBron's last year? Right. Who keeps saying that? He's had this film crew surrounding him for years.
All right, now I've heard this. The rumor mill has it. You and I, about 2 weeks ago, were at odds when it came to the NBA draft. We don't need to relitigate how wrong I was in the NBA draft. But it sounds like we might be at odds here. I don't get the way the market is pricing the Boston Celtics. Can you explain to me what I'm looking at here? Because it's not that I think they're going to be bad, but again, still the second choice to win the Eastern Conference. Still a team that is priced above Philly and Toronto to a decent degree in the division. Like, what am I missing with this Celtics group that has them stubbornly rated where they are by the betting market?
Well, I think it just comes down to the health of Jason Tatum. If Tatum's going to play even close to 75 games or something like that, this is going to be a really good team. I mean, last year, before Tatum got back on March 5th, they were 41-21 with Brown and no Tatum. They were the second best offensive team in the league, the 7th best defensive team in the league. I really like Jaylen Brown. I'm not going to join the list of people that are just destroying him right now for no real reason. But I do think Tatum is a better player than him. So you take a team that's 41-21, top 10 in the league in both offensive and defensive efficiency, and you give them Tatum, George, and Mitchell Robinson instead of just Jaylen Brown. I just feel like they're going to be better than that team we saw to start last season. I also do think that there's room for improvement for Peyton Pritchard, or not even room for improvement. That makes it sound negative. I just do think that there's a world in which he becomes a completely different player offensively. It just takes another step. So I don't know. I feel like if you just kind of look at the parts that they have right now going into this season, it's way better than what they had last season. Paul George is a punchline, but he's also still a really good player.
Mm-hmm.
VSiN senior editor, betting analyst, joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, also host of the Hardwood Handicappers podcast. Real quickly, because I do want to ask you about Wimbledon before we get out of here as well. But Which team do you think made the most impactful move this past week? Like, is it Giannis? Is it Jaylen Brown? Is it, Kawhi Leonard? Which move do you think was the most significant?
I think it was the last one you just mentioned. I think the Raptors really kind of jumped into contention in acquiring Kawhi Leonard. I feel like Brandon Ingram has always been kind of a negative player on the court. Like, he's a really good scorer, but tunnel vision as a passer, really not a good defensive player. Kawhi, you bring in, he gives you better scoring than Ingram, gives you a little bit better playmaking, way more efficiency on the offensive end, and then defensively, still a great player. I mean, he's not the player that they got when they won the NBA championship, but he's still like the 5th or 6th best player in the NBA. So you add him to that front line with Scotty Barnes and Colin Murray-Boyles, I feel like they're going to be really good on both ends of the floor. And I also think they have some more maneuverability moving towards the season or even towards the trade deadline, where they can go out and maybe trade like Jacoby Walter with a contract and some picks to go out and get a player that I keep saying maybe Kyrie Irving is the one that I think would really fit in nicely there.
Who's we all know the meme of who's the chick that was trying the kombucha, right? She's making all the faces. She doesn't really understand if she likes it or not, and ultimately lands on no. I'll have to show you the video. Either way, I thought more.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I've never known the context of the video.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you.
You do. Anyway, the more I've thought about the Lakers thing, the more I've kind of gone like, you know what? Yeah, I get it. Nah, I don't really get it. Nah, I've landed on I don't understand what the Lakers are really doing. I don't think that team is going to be particularly great when you're matching them up with the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Zach, they tied so much money into the guys that they signed. Like, that's kind of going to be their crew for a little bit here. Can you make sense of that? Are they going to be a top 6 team and I'm missing something? Because I don't like the way they look, especially when you see the way the Western Conference is shaking out.
Yeah, I think that they should be a top 6 team as long as Luka's healthy. Like, it's all the same with all these teams. It's like your superstar's healthy, you have a chance. But I think that Walker Kessler is going to be good for them. I don't know that I would have given him 4 for 130 and traded 2 first-round picks for him. Like, the fact that this team is now kind of stuck with this roster is a little scary. But I did think that they made, like, high upside signings in both Grimes and Mamukilashvili. I feel like both of those guys have a little more upside and the ability to be good starters. It's just a matter of finding the right, playing style for them. Grimes is a good 3-and-D player that has also been able to scale up and be a creator. Mamukilashvili is going to need to prove that he can defend the power forward spot or they're in trouble. But I think that they've gotten a lot better than they were last season, and they were pretty good last season.
Okay, Zach, JVT did just show me the video. It's definitely, I know what you're talking about. It's the one that we've all seen. I had no idea it was in reference to kombucha.
Yeah, that's what she's trying.
No idea.
Same.
No idea.
I already know it. I think I know it now. The girls.
Yeah, so why you guys try to make me look like an idiot? Anyway, Wimbledon.
You didn't describe it well. Yeah, my
Wimbledon,
turn.
grass. What do you got?
What do you have for us?
Yeah, so for tomorrow, I have Jasmine Paolini to beat Maria Sakkari. That is a matchup with 2 players that can really move well, but both of them want to play defense, and only one of them, I believe, is better at finishing points. And Paolini has a really good forehand. She's really good at coming to the net. I think she's a little bit more reliable as a server, and I just think that that's going to make the difference when these two face one another. They're split wins in 4 matchups since 2024. But the one time they played on like a faster surface was in Cincinnati on a hard court. Paolini won that in straight sets. It was a tough win, like 2 tiebreakers, but I could see it being very similar here at Wimbledon. But yeah, really interesting match. Paolini's a player I was looking to fade coming into this tournament, lost going against her twice already. So the second I start backing her, she's probably going to lose too. But I do think she's going to beat Sakkari.
Before we let you go, is Sabalenka going to win it all?
I'm hoping it's Pegula. We might get Pegula against Sabalenka in the semifinals, and I want Pegula to win her first Grand Slam. This is a really good opportunity for her, so I think it's going to be a really good matchup if they do play one another.
Well, I just need Sabalenka to get to the semifinal, so that would be ideal situation. So
that's why she asked.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
JVT makes fun of me because I always have to sneak in a sneaky question about one of my bets, especially for sports I don't know enough about. I got to ask the expert here. Zach, thank you so much for giving us some time. We appreciate it. Enjoy your 4th of July.
No problem. You too.
Zach Cohen. Make sure you follow him as well at betting on X Smooth. Why are you laughing now?
Well, I'm laughing at myself because I don't know why, but my initial thought was, does Zach celebrate 4th of July? He lives in Arizona, so I don't know why.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know why.
Like, Do you
Forgot
think
he lived here.
religiously does he not?
No, for some reason I just thought I don't know. I don't know why. Sometimes you just your wires get crossed, and I was like, is it happy 4th of July? Like you lived in a different country. Arizona sometimes is.
Tied at 1 in the 79th minute with the Australia-Egypt game going on. Egypt, by the way, that goal they gave up to Australia, an own goal, not ideal. We'll see if they can pull ahead to help me win, please. Please. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Wrapping up this Friday edition of Money Moves, taking you into the weekend on a high note. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live as always in downtown Las Vegas. We're keeping tabs on this World Cup match between Australia and Egypt. Still tied at 1 in the 84th minute now, hoping Egypt can sneak another goal in here if we can. Unfortunate.
Sorry, do you have them in regulation, or do you
I
have?
do, yeah.
Okay, not to advance. Okay.
So the to advance price was minus 155 for them just to win in regulation, and stoppage time was around plus 145. So I liked the number better on that one.
We had a really
thought
nice
they should win.
listener and viewer outside the studio that I was talking with before the show, and he asked me if I had anything here, and I said, I don't really have anything, but Stormy said put the house on Egypt. And he said, you know what, I'm going to do that. So
You did not put it that way. He said Stormy likes Egypt, and hopefully he took that as to advance, so maybe he can still have an opportunity to cash here. But hey, it's not over yet. If what we have seen so far in the World Cup has told us anything, right? It's not over till it's over. So we'll see how much time the officials want to give me to see if we can make something happen here down the line. Speaking of the World Cup, though, that England-Mexico match that we have coming up soon that you have been very invested in. We got a new development, potentially, a story that could be interesting about how the English team is handling the altitude.
Yeah, so the Sun Football reported that English players would be allowed to use Viagra to help cope with the high altitude in Mexico. The drug is not...
I laugh, but I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, so the drug's not on WADA's list of banned substances, and some of the uses of Viagra in terms of like medical usage would be reducing fatigue, dizziness at high altitude, improve blood flow in the lungs. So it would help them deal with the effects of altitude. Look, for England, it's going to be hard having to deal with the altitude, but I do think that they can. I think they can get it done here, which we'll talk about as part of best bets.
A whole new way for the English team to be ruled offside on
there
VAR.
There you go. Come on, why'd you stumble? I let you have it. You were leaking confidence.
Kill me. You have a play on that game, so it is time as we end the show to get into the best bets. Let's recap what we did yesterday before we look ahead to today. Plenty of hot dog contest bets as well coming off of that story, which is funny. But let's get to the recap from yesterday. For me, nice 3-0 day in the World Cup. Spain ends up covering the 1.5 against Austria. Austria held scoreless, another clean sheet for Spain. That gets us home minus 125 on the under, a goal for Austria. And then Switzerland in the late night, never in doubt on the money line win over Algeria. So we'll see if we can push that forward to today.
I'm going to do what you do.
Match number 1, not ideal.
Yeah, I'm going to do what you do. You've been crushing it in the World Cup, Stormy. You've been absolutely tremendous.
I'm already about to lose a bet, so why you got to do this to me?
You've been untouchable when it comes to the World Cup wages.
You're the worst. We'll see how my futures go. We still have pending France to win it all and France to make the semifinal. That was my favorite bet of the whole thing, plus 130 there. Kylian Mbappe as well at 6-1 for the Golden Boot. So we'll see if we can hang on. How about you? How'd you do yesterday?
Yesterday, what did I do? I totally forgot about this. Oh, yeah, so the White Sox did not get there, but Spain to win 2-0 did.
Tough beat for you, by the way, for the White Sox.
That was brutal. They're up like 5-3 late. It's 5-4 in the ninth, and then a walk-off shot to end my hopes for the White Sox. So it's funny, I did not watch the game yesterday, and MLB has this recap rundown where it takes all of the games and cuts it into like a 45-minute video so you can watch what happened the night before. I try to watch it every morning to get some details and some of the stuff that happened that I missed. And I'm watching that White Sox game because I know from looking at the rundown that I had it incorrect, and I saw the final score. And I'm watching it because I didn't know the details of it. And I'm like, they really blew this. So sure enough, the White Sox do. But we persevere. We move on. We have lots of opportunities in front of us.
Well, why don't you get us started then, since I feel like a lot more bets. Let's knock yours out here if we can. What do you got for today?
Sure. So 2 things tied into the late game tonight. We'll start with Colombia and Ghana. First half under a half goal at plus 185. We talked about this earlier in the program. Alex Blowers has a really good article up on the website detailing some of this tactfully and everything like that. But long story short, Ghana and the way they play, waiting for opportunities, playing back. There's not going to be many scoring opportunities, I believe. We've seen that in group play. So I think that this could be a low-scoring game. So I took a shot on a little bit of a meaty plus price. First half under a half goal plus 185. And the other one tied to this, little fun parlay as well, Colombia regulation win and a first half under that half goal as well at plus 375. Putting those 2 things together. Do have a pending that we played a couple of days ago, which was England minus 155 to advanced against Mexico. And adding to that as well, put this in late. England minus 1.5 versus Mexico. That is 4-1. I'll tail our boy Alex on that one too. We were texting about this earlier as I already had this. To me, it's just a pricing thing, man. I really do hope Mexico wins. Obviously, we've talked about that, the support, the fandom, and all that kind of thing. But from a pricing perspective, the altitude and the crowd and all these things, I think really heavily factored into this by the betting market to the point where maybe it's too much. We obviously know that England will be able to combat the altitude with the Viagra, so I think they're going to be in a really good spot to get this done. Let's go with the 3 Lions on Sunday to win and hopefully win by 2 or more.
Yeah, it's a nice price if they can win by 2 or more, sitting around 4-1, bet 100, win 400. I am with you on a play on Colombia, just not playing it the same way. I agree with your thought process, though, of Ghana not being able to score. They only have 2 goals in the entirety of the group stage in a win, loss, and draw. So give me Colombia -1 on that Asian handicap. Even if they win 1-0, you at least get your money back. If they win by 2 or more, then obviously you get the dub there and cash a ticket. As for Argentina, I think they cruise against Cape Verde. This has been an unbelievable story. They've been such a fun Cinderella to follow, especially what they did in that first match against Spain. I think that it stops here, though. Argentina is so good at possessing the ball. I'm not sure how many opportunities Cape Verde's going to have, period. I laid 2 goals with them, -125. Same situation, though, as we talk about with Colombia. They win by 2. I get my money back. If they win by 3 or more, then you're going to cash the ticket. And I think 2 is the very least with which they're going to handle business here in that matchup. I'm, as you saw on the graphic, sweating out Egypt here as well as we are in the 90th minute. So time's starting to run out. I'm curious how much the officials are going to put back on the board.
Late early.
As for the hot dog eating contest, lots of plays here as well. We did a full breakdown on this earlier in the show.
Take a breath and roll through your bets calmly.
I get
excited.
I get excited.
All right, just take a breath and roll through the bets calmly.
What's wrong with being excited?
There's nothing wrong with being excited. We got to communicate properly.
Okay, so I have a handful of wagers in the hot dog eating contest coming up tomorrow on Coney Island, the corner of Surf and Stillwell.
You're already starting up.
But a couple of my favorites here. I do think that the weather is going to play a really big role in this thing. The heat and humidity, sticky, the comfort of even just being able to get the hot dogs down. And we know that this is a tough task regardless, but now you add the conditions into it. The Chestnut, Joey Chestnut and Miki Sudo, your 2 massive favorites in this thing. Their total combined hot dogs and buns, 110.5. I think we look under on that, especially with the Sudo side of it. She only had 33 last year in a good condition day. We heard from George Shea on the program yesterday that she hasn't had the same amount of time to practice and prepare this year as she has in years past. So I think she's might going to have a little bit of a lower output. I generally like the under on Joey Chestnut as well, but you put them both together and maybe we get a little bit of an edge there on the under 110.5. The winner without Chestnut market, I think, is also very intriguing. I am not a big Bertoletti fan. I think that because the year that Joey Chestnut was unavailable to do this competition because he had that deal with Impossible Foods that Nathan's obviously doesn't like when you're promoting a meatless product when their big thing is hot dogs. So that year he had like 58. And I think it was an anomaly type of a performance. That's not the guy that he truly is. And Webb, Jeffrey Esper, even Nick Wary are guys that could contend for that second spot, but I'm specifically diving into Webb and Esper here. In the winner without Chestnut market, you can get James Webb at 3-1. And then I couldn't help but notice, if you look at some of the pricing on here, the winner without Chestnut market for Jeffrey Esper, you're only getting 4-1 there. But if you do the exact result market where you pair Chestnut to win with Esper to finish second, you get 6-1. In my eyes, that is the same exact bet, but you're getting a significantly better price from 4-1 to 6-1. And then on the women's side of this thing, Miki Sudo, similar to Joey Chestnut on the men's side, is the far and above favorite. She's going to dominate. She's in a class of her own. She's going to win. Winner without Sudo, I think this is Michelle Lesko's. We've seen Dominica D get a lot of love in the market here, and I think it is simply because of her platform. She is a TikTok star, all of this stuff. Her numbers do not contend with what Michelle Lesko has done. And Homegirl has been doing this for years and years and years. She's used to the stage. She also is a Tucson, Arizona native, so she's used to practicing and preparing in the heat, whereas we look at Dee, who lives in Seattle, and it's 60 degrees there today. So just putting a little bit of context into that. By the way, as this is the 4th of July, our 4th of July sale is going on here at VSiN. Don't forget about it, vsin.com/subscribe. This is a pretty sneaky awesome deal. That's why it's only for such a short time. You can only lock in this price until July 7th, but you get 2 full years of VSiN Pro right now for just $299, which is 70% off what we usually charge on that monthly price, and it gets you unlimited access to everything we do here. vsin.com/subscribe.
I want to note some breaking news really quickly. I was just looking at this, unless we had mentioned this, but it looks like they're moving the time for Mexico and England. There's going to be a thunderstorm late, so they're kicking that 12 p.m. local time, 7 p.m. in the UK, 2 p.m. Eastern.
So you got to really time out when you're taking those little blue pills. On that note, have a great day, everybody. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Can't wait to catch back up on Monday, same time, same place. Keep it locked right here. Follow the money with Mitch and Paul coming up after this.